Calling all bargain hunters. Angela Warner from Warner Stellian with a sale you're not going to want to miss. The Real Deal clearance sale starts this weekend. We're talking hundreds of appliances marked down to cost or even below cost. Floor model French door fridges, overstock laundry pairs, you name it, we've got it. And the prices are unbeatable. This is your chance to score big on the brands you love and even the luxury brands that never go on sale. But hurry, these deals won't last forever. Real Deal clearance sale starts this weekend only at Warner Stellian stores.
Owning a rental property sounds like a dream until you realize how much work goes into getting it ready. Determine a competitive rent price, market the property, schedule the showing, screen tenants, draft up the lease, set up rent collection, handle maintenance requests, maintain tenant communication. Whew, sound complicated? Renter's Warehouse is here to take the hard work off your rental to-do list. Qualified tenants? Check. Rent collection? Check. Maintenance coordination? You got it. Go to renterswarehouse.com for a free rental analysis to find out how much your home can rent for. Or call 952-444-6996 because from now on, the only thing you need on your to-do list is to call Renter's Warehouse.
We interrupt our normal program to cooperate in security and civil defense measures as requested by the United States government. This is a CONELRAD radio alert. Normal broadcasting will now be discontinued for an indefinite period. Civil defense information will be broadcast in most areas at 640 and 1240 on your regular radio receiver. All residents in and around Erie County will receive official Erie County Civil Defense bulletins on 640 kilocycles on your radio receiver, while the residents in and around Niagara County should tune to 1240 kilocycles. I repeat, normal broadcasting will be discontinued for an indefinite period. Civil defense information will be broadcast in most areas at 640 and 1240 on your regular radio receiver.
CONERAD only had one full test, and that was in 1961. Thanks to some good people, by name Joe Nino Hermnez, we have a recording of what was broadcast in 1961 over radio station WSBC in Chicago, which was on 1240 on the dial. Let's listen to that actual test as it was broadcast in 1961. And that's going back 63 years?
Tune to CONERAD. This is a civil defense test exercise. This is not a real alert. This is a part of the 1961 Operation Alert program.
In a few minutes, you will hear messages from your federal, state, and local defense authorities. This is a test exercise, not a real alert.
A CONERAD radio alert can only be declared by the Commander-in-Chief of the North American Air Defense Command or his authorized representative. This triggers a nationwide network of authorized and equipped stations to broadcast on 640 and 1240 kilocycles at all times. News bulletins and emergency weather warnings may be broadcast by AM, FM, and TV stations using the regularly assigned frequencies. CONERAD is a military requirement for the foreseeable future, our defense leaders say. They emphasize that as long as the manned bomber and air-breathing missiles are part of an enemy threat, CONERAD must be maintained as an emergency information system. If those charged with the responsibility of defending the United States from hostile attack could be assured that the enemy would not use domestic radio stations for navigational aid, there would be no need for CONERAD. But this assurance cannot be given, and the fact remains that navigational guidance by such means is well within the capability of modern military weapons. Your government and the nation's broadcast stations have teamed up together to give you this CONERAD drill as an indication of the preparedness of industry. Are you prepared in your communities and in your homes?
This is a test exercise, not a real alert. If you tuned in late, you will not hear radio broadcasting over any other frequencies except 640 or 1240 for the next 30 minutes.
We want to know how clearly you receive these messages. Please send a postcard to the broadcasting station to which you were listening, give your address, and indicate whether you heard the program on 640 or 1240, and whether messages were received good, meaning loud and clear, fair, meaning faint but understandable, or poor, meaning indistinct or not at all. This is a civil defense test exercise to determine the efficiency of CONERAD emergency broadcasting. Please write in. Please send a postcard to the broadcasting station to which you were listening. Give your address and indicate whether you heard the program on either 640 or 1240, and whether messages were received good, meaning loud and clear, fair, meaning faint but understandable, poor, meaning indistinct or not heard at all. This is a civil defense test exercise to determine the efficiency of CONERAD emergency broadcasting. Please write in.
The take cover siren signal, a wailing tone or short blast for 3 minutes, will be sounded sometime today throughout Illinois. This means take cover immediately. If this were an actual warning, you'd stay under cover until you were advised by a CONELRAD it was safe to emerge. You would keep tuned to CONELRAD for further instructions. If the alert signal sounded by your civil defense were an actual warning, all regular radio and TV stations would be silent. Then on 640 or 1240 on your radio, you would be getting official messages informing you of proper actions to take.
You might hear a message about the situation from the governor of the state of Illinois. Here is an Operation Alert announcement from Governor Otto Kerner.
Operation Alert 1961 is a time for inventory of our national, state, local, and personal disaster preparedness. In this nuclear age, we cannot afford to speculate on survival. The national security and military defense of the United States has undergone a complete revolution in the past 10 years. This was, in the main, due to scientific development of guided missiles with nuclear warheads which can reach any part of this country from hostile lonesome sites. Prudent concern for the protection of our civilian population in a nuclear world makes it necessary that civil defense be parallel to the military defense of the country. I heartily concur in the federal shelter policy, which recognizes fallout shelters as the best single non-military defense measure for the protection of the greatest number of people. In Illinois, we must unswervingly stand up and be counted in favor of both a strong military and civil defense. With our state and nation appropriately prepared to meet the challenges of tomorrow, be they military or economic, there can be no limit to our accomplishments.
You have just heard a message from the governor of Illinois, Otto Kerner, speaking on behalf of Operation Alert 1961. This is a test exercise, not a real alert.
You are listening to CONELRAD and a civil defense test exercise. This is a test, not a real alert. Stay tuned to either 640 or 1240 on your radio dial for more civil defense announcements and messages from your federal, state, and local defense authorities. Please send a postcard to the station to which you were listening and indicate whether you heard the program on 640 or 1240 and whether messages were received good, meaning loud and clear, fair, meaning faint but understandable, poor, meaning indistinct or not at all. You will not hear radio broadcasting over any other radio frequency except 640 or 1240 until 3:30 p.m. today. The basic goal of civil defense is prevention of death, damage, and destruction. Once disaster strikes, civil defense has the mission to protect life and property, to minimize and repair damage, and to mobilize and manage resources and production. Civil defense is not apart from government. It is government itself, aided by auxiliaries in emergencies to minimize the effects of disasters. This mission cannot be carried out by a few individuals. Every citizen, every arm of government has a job to do. The sole reason for the existence of national, state, and local survival plans for civil defense and defense mobilization is to protect you, your family, your neighbors, your fellow Americans. But these plans will not work unless you make them work. If survival plans are ever tested by war, the outcome will depend on the support you give them now. There will be no time after the warning comes to do what you should be doing today.
The plans point the way for this nation to be prepared to withstand an all-out attack, to recover, and to win. But even more important, the better the state of our home defenses, the less chance there will be that an aggressor will gamble with war against us. for the less chance there will be that he can knock us out with one blow. To prevent our country from having a glass jaw, be sure you're doing your part for disaster preparedness. This is your CONELRAD program. This is Operation Alert 1961. Operation Alert is a test exercise, not a real alert. In time of disaster, you might also hear an official message from the Illinois Civil Defense Agency. Here is the type of message you might receive from Major General J.L. Homer, Illinois Civil Defense Director.
Once a year, starting at the nation's capital and extending down to the smallest community, civil defense disaster plans of the nation are tested for their adequacy in meeting emergencies of enormous proportions. These large-scale disasters, whether natural or man-made, might come with limited warning time. Demands for relief and assistance would be astronomical. The time for testing plans is before calamities occur. This is the reason for holding the annual Operation Alert 1961 test, which is being held nationwide today and tomorrow, Friday, April 28th, and Saturday, April 29th. Simulated attacks delivered by man bombers and missiles will be made on Illinois in a series of simulated attack waves. Based on an announced grave international situation preceding this day of mock attacks, a simulated strategic evacuation of target cities was started yesterday, which will reduce target city populations 30 to 50%. This is possible based upon availability of over 20 hours warning time. Evacuation from densely populated centers which were classed as potential targets for an enemy is the best course of action if time permits. Operation Alert 1961 will be controlled at federal, state, and local levels by a group of umpires who will schedule release of bomb strikes and radiological effects for exercise participants. In Illinois, the exercise will be controlled and directed from the State Control Center in accordance with previously coordinated civil defense plans now in hand of all local authorities throughout the state. Operation Alert is a time to check our preparedness in advance of disaster. When a real emergency occurs, there is no second chance.
You have just heard a message from Major General J.L. Homer, Director of the Illinois Civil Defense Agency. You are listening to your CONELRAD program. This is Operation Alert 1961. This is a test exercise, not a real alert. Stay tuned for other messages from federal, state, and local civil defense officials.
Nearly every family has an occasional accident in the home which requires immediate first aid. Most of these are minor. But there may come a time when fast action, emergency first aid, could stave off disaster for a friend, a neighbor, or member of your family. In case of war, knowledge of first aid would be vital. Civil defense authorities recommend that at least one member of each family take a civil defense first aid course. This safety first medical knowledge will prove invaluable to you in war or peace. Right now, you can probably think of many times when first aid would be important. You can't always count on someone else. There may come a day when the life or death of someone near you might rest in your hands. Will you be prepared? Take the first step today. Call your Red Cross or Civil Defense Office. Find out when you can take the course and then sign up. Remember, a first aid course today means greater safety for your family tomorrow.
You are listening to CONELRAD. This is an Operation Alert 1961 test exercise. This is not a real alert. Stay tuned to your CONELRAD program for more messages from federal, state, and local civil defense authorities.
We want you to know how clearly you're receiving these messages. So please send a postcard to the broadcasting station to which you were listening before the start of this CONELRAD program. Give your address and indicate whether you heard the program on 640 or 1240, and whether these messages were received good, meaning loud and clear, fair, meaning faint but understandable, or poor, meaning indistinct or not at all. This is a civil defense test exercise to determine the efficiency of CONELRAD emergency broadcasting. Please write in. Now let me repeat. Please send a postcard to the broadcasting station to which you were listening before the start.